My name is Lauren Whitmore. I'm 31 years old. And 18 minutes before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, my mother leaned in close enough for only me to hear and said, "We already spent $48,000 on your sister's real wedding. Don't expect us to pretend this is anything close to that." I remember the exact way she said real. Like everything I had spent the last 4 months building didn't count. Like the dress I was wearing, the chairs we borrowed, the backyard we turned into something warm and honest meant nothing because it didn't have chandeliers and a string quartet. I stood there holding a bouquet of flowers I had arranged for myself at 6 a.m. that morning, and I felt something inside me go very still. Not break. Not shatter. Just settle. Because the truth was, I had heard versions of that sentence my entire life. Just never this clearly. If you've ever been the one who had to figure it out, while someone else got everything handed to them. If you've ever been told you're strong when what they really meant was, "You're on your own, stay with me." Because what happened next didn't just change my wedding day. It exposed something my family had been hiding for years. And the moment I found out, everything they built started falling apart. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back about 9 months. My sister Caroline's wedding was in June. Lakeview Estate. 230 guests, a live band, imported flowers, the kind of event people still talked about weeks later. I remember where I was sitting because it felt intentional. Table 19, right by the service door. Every time a waiter pushed through, the door swung open and you could hear the kitchen, loud and chaotic, breaking through the polished version of the night happening in the ballroom. I wasn't in the bridal party. Not even close. I wore a navy dress I bought on sale because I knew I wouldn't be in any of the important photos anyway. My mother moved through the room like she was hosting something much bigger than a wedding. "We wanted everything to be perfect for Caroline," she kept saying. "She deserves it." I heard it over and over again, to the planner, to the guests, to my father, who just nodded along like this was all normal. I did what I always do when I don't know where I belong. I observed. I counted. The centerpieces had to be at least $70 each, and there were 20 tables. The band had 8 members. The cake was 5 tiers. The bar was open. I didn't need exact numbers to know what it cost. I just needed to look. Caroline looked at me once that night from across the room and smiled. It wasn't unkind. It was worse than that. It was the kind of smile that assumed I understood my role in all of it. I left before the last dance. No one noticed. 3 months later, I got engaged. His name is Aaron. He's not flashy, not loud, not the kind of person who makes a scene. He proposed on a Wednesday night in our apartment kitchen while I was still in my work clothes, and he was holding 2 plates of takeout because he didn't want the food to get cold. He set them down, got on one knee and said, "I can't promise you perfect, but I can promise you honest." That mattered more to me than anything else ever had. The ring wasn't expensive. Simple, clean, something that felt like it belonged to me the second I put it on. We told my family that weekend. Same dining room, same table, same feeling I'd had my entire life walking into that house. My mother looked at the ring for maybe 2 seconds. "That's nice." "That's nice," she said. "Not beautiful, not exciting, just nice." My father asked when the wedding would be. Caroline barely looked up from her phone. "We're thinking March," I said. "Something small." I watched my mother's shoulders relax. Actually relax, like she'd been bracing for something worse. "That's smart," she said. "Weddings are expensive." Caroline let out a quiet laugh. "Yeah, not everyone needs a whole production." Aaron's hand found mine under the table, squeezed once, steady. We stayed long enough to be polite. As we were leaving, I heard my mother say, "Well, at least this one won't cost us anything." I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. October came and went in a blur of work and planning and trying to stretch every dollar further than it was meant to go. I called my mother one afternoon during my lunch break. I had rehearsed what I was going to say, kept it small, reasonable. "I was wondering if you and Dad might be able to help a little with the wedding," I said. "Not much, just something for the venue." There was a pause on the line. I counted it without meaning to. "Lauren," she said finally, her voice already settled into a decision she'd made long before that phone call. "We already did one wedding. You'll have to figure this out on your own." I looked down at the sandwich in my hand and realized I wasn't hungry anymore. "I'm not asking for what Caroline got," I said. "Just a little help." "The money's gone," she replied. "You understand." I did understand, just not the way she meant. The next 4 months, we built a wedding out of almost nothing. A friend of Aaron's parents offered their backyard. We borrowed chairs from a community hall. I bought flowers from a grocery store the morning of the wedding and arranged them myself. We printed invitations at home. We told people to bring food if they wanted, no pressure, just come if you care. And they did. More people than I expected said yes. Not a huge crowd, but enough to feel real. February was when I asked about my grandmother. She was the one person I wanted there more than anyone else. "I'd really like Grandma to come," I said. My mother didn't hesitate. "She's not doing well. The dementia is getting worse. Travel would be too much for her." The words landed heavy, final. "Can I visit her?" I asked. "I'll check with the facility," she said. She never did. I sent cards, 3 of them. "Birthday, thinking of you, just because." I never heard anything back. "She wouldn't understand," my mother said. "It's kinder this way." I wanted to believe her. Or maybe I just didn't know how to push harder without breaking something I didn't fully understand yet. The last time I saw my grandmother, she was fine. Sharp, present, more aware than anyone gave her credit for. She held my hand when I left and said, "Lauren, you know I see you, right?" I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. "Of course you do." She shook her head slightly. "No, I mean really see you. And I'm taking care of something. You'll understand when the time comes." I didn't understand. Not then. March came faster than I expected. My wedding day started early. Too early. I barely slept. Aaron stayed at his parents' house the night before. Something about tradition his mother insisted on. I woke up alone in our apartment with my dress hanging on the closet door and a quiet I couldn't shake. By the time we got to the backyard, the light was soft and everything looked better than I thought it would. Simple, but warm. Honest. By 10:30, everything was set up. Chairs in place, tables arranged, food starting to arrive. I checked my phone, no messages, no calls, nothing from my family. At 11:15, a car pulled up. My mother stepped out, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, like she had stepped out of a different version of this day. She walked through the yard slowly, taking everything in. The chairs, the tables, the decorations we had pieced together ourselves. She turned to me and smiled. "Well," she said, "you've certainly made something." Then she stepped closer, lowered her voice, and said the sentence I would remember for the rest of my life. "We already spent $48,000 on your sister's real wedding. Don't expect us to pretend this is anything close to that." I nodded because I didn't know what else to do in that moment. The words got stuck somewhere between my throat and my chest, like if I tried to say them, they would cut me from the inside. My mother straightened up, adjusted the sleeve of her jacket, glanced at her watch, and added in a normal tone as if nothing important had just happened. "I'm not staying for the ceremony. I just wanted to see." She looked over the yard one more time, the way you evaluate something temporary, insignificant, and headed toward the exit. I stood there feeling a familiar sensation rising inside me. Not anger, not hurt, but something much quieter and deeper. Realization. She hadn't come to support me, not to congratulate me. She came to make sure I really did everything on my own, and that it looked exactly the way she expected it to. When the door closed behind her, I exhaled like I had been holding my breath for minutes. My friend Kelly came up to me almost immediately. "Are you okay?" I nodded. "Yeah. Just, let's keep going." She looked at me carefully like she knew I was lying, but didn't push. I was grateful for that. Through the window, I could see guests starting to take their seats. There was a quiet hum of conversation, laughter, the clink of dishes. Life was moving forward, even though something inside me had just shifted. I went back to the room where I had been getting ready. The dress was already on, my hair done, makeup almost finished. I looked at myself in the mirror and tried to see what a bride is supposed to see in that moment. Joy, excitement, anticipation. It was all there, but somewhere deeper underneath something heavy. I took a tissue, gently fixed the mascara under my eyes, and said out loud quietly, almost in a whisper, "You're not going to let her take this from you. Not this day. Not now." At that moment, I heard the sound of a car, not the one my mother came in. A different one. Quieter, but somehow it immediately caught my attention. I walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside. A black sedan. Unfamiliar. Not one of the guests. The door opened, and a woman in a dark blue suit stepped out. She had a folder in her hands. She looked official. Too official for a wedding in someone else's backyard with plastic chairs and handmade decorations. There was a knock on the door a minute later. Kelly opened it, then looked back at me. "Lauren, there's a woman here for you. Says it's important." I frowned but walked into the hallway. The woman stood straight, confident, but not cold. More restrained. "Lauren Whitmore?" I nodded. "My name is Sarah Miller. I represent the law firm Miller & Hayes. Your grandmother asked me to deliver this to you personally, today, before the ceremony." She handed me an envelope. Thick, heavy, sealed. Not a card, not a 2-page letter. Something much bigger. I took it automatically, feeling its weight in my hands. "My grandmother," I asked. "Is she okay?" The woman smiled slightly, but there was something in that smile I didn't immediately understand. She also asked me to tell you one more thing. She said, "Tell her I'm waiting. Spot C7. Spot C7. It meant nothing to me, and at the same time, it somehow felt important. "She here?" I asked, feeling my heart start to beat faster. The woman didn't answer directly. She said you would understand. Then added more gently, "It seems like you don't have much time." I looked at my watch. 11:47. 13 minutes until it started. The envelope suddenly felt heavier in my hands. I went back into the room and closed the door. Locked it. Sat down on the edge of the bed. For a few seconds, I just stared at the envelope without moving. Then I ran my fingers along the edge, found a place to open it, and carefully broke the seal. There was more inside than I expected. First, a letter. Handwritten. Familiar handwriting, slightly uneven but steady. I unfolded it and started reading. "My dear Lauren, if you're reading this, it means today is your day. And I hope you are standing where you were always meant to stand, at the center of your own life, not at the edge of someone else's." I paused for a second, took a breath, and continued. "I need you to know the truth. I am not sick the way you were told. Heck, I do not have dementia. I was examined, and I have documents confirming it. Your mother knew this. She didn't want me to speak to you. She didn't want you to ask questions." My hands started shaking. I placed the letter on my knees so I wouldn't drop it. "In this envelope, you will find everything you need. Bank statements from the last 11 years. Property documents. Correspondence. I was transferring money to your mother, believing she was dividing it between you and your sister. She didn't. Everything went to Caroline." I felt a ringing start in my ears. "The total amount is $310,000. You received nothing." I reread that sentence twice. 310,000. Zero. "The house on Oak Street where you grew up no longer belongs to your mother. I transferred it to you 2 months ago. The documents are inside. She doesn't know." I lifted my head sharply, like someone had just said it out loud in front of me. "The house. Mine? I am not where you were told I am. I'm nearby. I wanted to come, but I was not allowed, so I am waiting for you. Spot C7. If you decide to come, I'll be there. If not, I will understand. But please know this. You were never less. You were just made to feel that way." Signature. Grandma. I didn't realize I was crying at first. The tears just fell, quietly, without sound. I turned the page, then started going through the rest. The documents were really there. Statements, tables, amounts, transfers, everything clearly marked. My sister's name again and again, and next to it nothing where mine should have been. I found the medical report. Clear. Stamped, signed. No dementia. Everything was real. Not rumors, not guesses. Facts. I looked at the clock. 11:53. 7 minutes. 7 minutes before I was supposed to walk out and start the ceremony. 7 minutes before my life was supposed to go one way. And somewhere just a few dozen meters away, my grandmother was sitting. Waiting. I stood up, walked to the mirror. My face, my eyes, red. But inside there was something new. Clarity. I carefully put the documents back into the envelope and placed it in the drawer. I took the key from inside, the one attached to the paper with the address, and held it in my palm for a second. Cold metal. Heavy. Real. I put it into the pocket of my dress. Then I picked up my bouquet. Opened the door. Aaron was standing in the hallway like he knew I would need someone there. He looked at me. "Are you okay?" I nodded. For now, yes. I need to do something. Give me 10 minutes. He didn't ask any extra questions, just nodded. I'm here. I walked out of the house, went around the yard, past the guests who were smiling, not knowing what was happening, and headed toward the parking area. A row of cars, A, B, C. Spot C7, a silver car, and inside, her, my grandmother. She saw me and immediately opened the door. Lauren. Her voice was the same as always. Clear, warm, real. And in that moment, I understood that everything I had been told was a lie. I stepped closer. You're here, I said, my voice trembling despite me. She smiled. I told you I would be. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't alone. I stopped a few steps away from her, like if I moved too fast, she might disappear, and this would all turn into something I imagined to survive the morning. But she didn't disappear. She stepped forward, reached for my face with both hands, and held it there, steady, like she had done when I was a child and couldn't stop crying. Let me look at you, she said softly. Her eyes moved across my face, taking everything in. You did this yourself, didn't you? I nodded, and something in her expression shifted. Not sadness, not pity. Something closer to pride mixed with anger that had been waiting a long time. I knew you would, she said. I didn't know where to start, so I started with the only thing that mattered in that moment. They said you were sick, I said. They said you didn't remember things. She let out a quiet breath, almost like she had expected that to be the first thing out of my mouth. I know what they said, she replied. That's why I had to make sure you got that envelope before anything else happened today. She glanced toward the house, toward the yard where my wedding was about to begin. How much time do you have? Not enough, I said, but I'm here. She nodded once, decisive. Good, then listen carefully because I don't want you walking back into that ceremony without knowing exactly what you're walking into. Her voice wasn't rushed, but it was precise, like every word had already been chosen. For 11 years, I transferred money to your mother, every quarter. The understanding was simple, equal support for both of my granddaughters, education, stability, a start in life. She paused just long enough to make sure I was still with her. Your sister received all of it. I saw the documents, I said quietly. Yes, she replied, but documents don't tell you everything. They don't tell you that when I asked about you, your mother said you didn't need help, that you were independent, that you preferred to do things on your own. She used your strength as an excuse to neglect you. Her eyes hardened slightly, and I believed her, for too long. I felt something tighten in my chest, not just anger at my mother, but something more complicated. Why now? I asked. Why today? She looked at me for a long second before answering. Because she crossed a line she can't come back from, she said. When she told me you weren't inviting me to your wedding, I knew she was lying. You would never do that, not without a reason. And when I asked to speak to you directly, she refused. A small, bitter smile touched her lips. That's when I started checking everything. I swallowed. The house. She nodded before I finished. It's yours. Legally, fully, without conditions. I transferred it quietly. I wanted to see what she would do if she thought she still controlled everything. Her gaze moved past me again toward the yard. From what I saw when I arrived, she hasn't changed. No, I said, she hasn't. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The sounds of my wedding drifted over to us, chairs moving, someone laughing, the low hum of people waiting for something to begin. It felt like standing between two different versions of my life, both real, both demanding something from me. What do? I asked finally. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached out and adjusted a loose strand of hair near my temple, the same small, careful gesture she had done my entire life. That depends, she said. Do you want peace, or do you want the truth to be seen? I let that sit, because for the first time, those felt like two different choices. I don't want to pretend anymore, I said. She studied me, then nodded slowly. Then don't. But understand this. Once you say it out loud, once you show them what you know, there is no going back to how things were. I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. There's nothing to go back to, I said. There never was. That seemed to be the answer she needed. She reached into her bag and pulled out a smaller envelope, thinner, already unsealed. These are copies, she said. Keep the originals safe. If you decide to speak, don't argue, don't explain, just show them. She placed it in my hands. Let them face it. I took it, feeling that same weight again, but this time it didn't feel like something crushing me. It felt like something solid. Ground. Will you come in? I asked. To the ceremony? She smiled, softer now. If I come in, I don't come quietly, she said. Are you ready for that? I thought about my mother's face, about Caroline's smile, about every moment I had stepped back, stayed quiet, accepted less because it was easier than fighting something I couldn't fully see. Then I looked at my grandmother. Yes, I said. We walked back together. I didn't rush. I didn't hide. Guests turned as we entered the yard, their conversations dipping, curiosity moving through the crowd like a ripple. I could feel it, but for the first time, it didn't make me smaller. Aaron saw me first. Relief crossed his face, then confusion when he noticed I wasn't alone. He stepped forward immediately. Hey, he said softly. Everything okay? I nodded. It will be, I replied. I just need a minute before we start. My mother was standing near the front, speaking to someone, her posture perfect, her expression controlled. She turned when the noise shifted, and the moment she saw my grandmother, everything changed. Not dramatically. Not in a way most people would notice. But I saw it. The slight freeze. The calculation. The immediate attempt to recover. Mom, she said too quickly, too brightly. What are you doing here? My grandmother didn't answer her right away. Instead, she walked past her, slow, steady, until she was standing near the front row. Then she turned, facing not just my mother, but everyone. I'm here, she said calmly, because I was told I wasn't invited. A murmur moved through the guests. My mother let out a small laugh, the kind meant to smooth things over. There must have been a misunderstanding. There wasn't, my grandmother said, not raising her voice, but cutting clean through the moment anyway. There has been a lie. Several, actually, and I think it's time we stop pretending otherwise. I felt every eye shift between them. Between all of us. My mother's smile tightened. This isn't the time. You're right, I said, stepping forward before she could finish. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me more than anything. It's not the time to lie anymore. Silence. Real silence. I held the envelope in my hand, then extended it toward her. You should probably look at this, I said. She didn't take it at first, so I didn't lower my hand. After a second that felt longer than it should have, she reached out and took it. Opened it. Her eyes moved across the first page, then the second. I watched the exact moment she realized what it was. What is this? She asked, but it wasn't a real question. You know what it is, I replied. Caroline stepped closer, frowning. What's going on? She asked. My mother didn't answer her. She was still looking at the papers, flipping faster now, like if she moved quickly enough she could outrun what was written there. It's a record, my grandmother said, of every transfer I made for both of my granddaughters. Caroline's expression shifted. Both? She repeated. Yes, my grandmother said. Or at least, that was the intention. I watched the understanding hit her. Not fully. Not yet. But enough. My mother finally looked up. This is not how you handle family matters, she said sharply, her composure cracking at the edges. No, I said. This is how you handle being lied to for 11 years. Another silence. Heavier this time. Irreversible. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was standing at the edge of it. I was at the center.